Long-term weight mastery can feel impossible when you're stuck in the struggle. But the truth is, the real breakthrough isn't about chasing the perfect diet. It's about building power from the inside out. Last week, we uncovered the rules of the inner game that helped me release 40 pounds. Today, we take it further. The strategies and mindset shifts that made that weight loss last. So take a nice deep breath in and come on in.
Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast, where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life.
Hello, come on in. Welcome back. Welcome back. The party is still going on. We've carried it on all through from last week to this week. Last week we were celebrating my birthday, and this week we're just continuing to celebrate not just my birthday, but just you. If you're a newcomer, welcome, come on in. We are celebrating you. And if you have been around and are returning, we are celebrating you as well. Come on in, have a seat. We've kept your seats warm. And last week, like I said, we were having a cake-free party, a birthday party, playing the game of inner weight loss as I related my own journey of releasing 40 pounds by truly shifting my mind and taking responsibility for my weight journey rather than relying on something outside of me, which I had been doing forever. So this was all inspired by a Monopoly game that I was playing with my kids and my husband when we were away. And that game that we played spanned over 2 nights because we got really into it. My kids are very tenacious when they get going. And we had to take a snapshot, like I had to take my phone and take a picture of the board for the next night so we could keep the game going where we left off. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to dive into the journey from the point of having achieved your ideal weight and how to keep it going, which for many of us is the biggest challenge. Before we make sure our players are on the right place on the board, I want to remind you that we are in the last few days of enrolling the fall 2025 live online Shift Weight Mastery process. That is a mouthful. It is a 30-day process that includes daily hypnosis, meditation, and coaching, and just so much. There's just so much love. The course rolls out in our online portal, which is also, it's accessible from phone to tablet, desktop, and we do have a mobile app. So it's not live every day. I think some people think, oh, you mean I have to come and show up live to all of these things and listen live and be, no. It is a foundational 30-day course that is very layered and very laid out, that has a very powerful impact, but there are live elements to it. And one of the most magical elements is we all start on the same day. We have a self-study version where, you can start and do it on your own. And if that's what you like doing, that's what you like doing. But there's something about the live process, starting it on the same day, especially for those of you who want camaraderie and momentum, because sometimes when we're alone, it can feel overwhelming. It's hard to get started, but there's no delaying this one. It's just, we're starting on this day and you're coming with us and we're going to help you and guide you along the way. So a lot of people really enjoy that aspect of it. And it starts on September 17th, which is the beginning of our prep process, which will last for over a week. It actually is 9 days this year. We will begin day one on September 26th. So at that point, you should be ready for success, prepped, and have gone through our modules that are designed to get you ready and prepared for success. And then we go through the process over the 30 days. And during the 30 days, we have many workshops, like a carb savvy workshop, which people sign up for this course just to do that course because it's the only time we do it. And it's a great workshop, really about mastering your relationship with carbs. But there's just so much layered into this program, and I just can't get into it all. So if you want to learn more, www.shiftweightmastery.com/fall, and please do feel free to check the link in the show notes. People rarely go there, but if you do, that's what will be waiting for you. Now, like I said, there are just a few days left, and this Saturday is our live Zoom kickoff orientation, which people just love. It's a lot of processing, getting rid of all the resentment and limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves, and really prepping deep for success. So come check it out and join us. And also, just to touch on this and to start our conversation for today, or to keep the party rolling, is there's going to be like 50 coaches in our Facebook group. And these coaches are amazing. They have been going in, and those of you who are already enrolled and have seen all of our amazing coaches in there have gone and posted their before and after pictures and their stories. And oh my gosh, it's just that alone is just moving and unbelievable. All these amazing stories of people really finding themselves and developing themselves from the inside out. And every story is different and everybody is different. It's just so super cool. And I love doing this process, not only because it is so transformational for the participants, but for me, I just get reminded about my own journey. And that's why I'm dedicating these 2 episodes to the journey that I've been on. And also many of our coaches. Coach Julie will be with us, and she's had 2 years of maintenance. Coach Sarah has had 3 years. Coach Andrea has had 4. Coach Jenny has had 5. And we have some members on our community who have been here since the beginning, who are now maintaining serious weight releases for 18, 20 years, a long time. And so it's just a testimony to the power of really developing yourself from the inside out and using your mind more effectively, because it's possible for you. That's just what I want to say. I know this. You may not know this yet, especially if you're new to thin thinking, but it is possible to achieve long-term weight mastery. But it doesn't come in a bottle, and it doesn't come in a book or a special combination of foods or times you eat or even a shot. It comes from within you. And it's something you create, you cultivate, you come to own. And no one can ever take that away from you. So let's dive in. One of the things, just to really, truly understand, I say it till I'm blue in the face, and I know you've heard me say it, but I'm here to refresh and remind you that your brain, your main obstacle with not just weight release, but long-term weight maintenance, your main obstacle is not you, but the way the brain is designed. It's designed to work against you with regards to weight. It's designed really great to help you survive. But in the way it's designed to help us survive, it works against us in the modern world when it comes to weight management. So just going back to that idea that 12% of our conscious mind is the critical, analytical, willpower part of the mind, the part that usually wants to lose weight, and the 88% wants things to stay the same. And this wiring runs deep. And when I talked last week, I spent 20 years yo-yoing up and down. And when I really made my turning point to begin to release weight long term, I decided to dispense with all the answers that I was trying to seek outside of me because I didn't believe in myself, but I decided to take a chance and believe in myself and really believe in me. And in doing so, and what happened for me and what happens for many of our participants in the Shift Weight Mastery process is we change brains. We move out of this old weight struggler brain where we have a weight struggler identity and beliefs, limiting beliefs and habits and patterns that keep us struggling. And we move into this new brain. We can't work with the old brain. The brain that got us 20, 30, 40, 50 years of struggling with our weight, 60 years of struggling with our weight, ain't the brain that's going to offer you long-term permanent weight release and maintenance, right? So what got you here ain't going to get you there. So to really start with that idea is that we are now changing identities and moving into being an apprentice and a learner of weight mastery. And this is important because this continues on in maintenance, okay? In the diet world, we get to our ideal weight and there's this weird scenario where we think, okay, that all that exertion that I was doing to release the weight, that's done now. And now I'm just going to coast and I can go back to eating the foods that I was eating and I don't know what happens in that brain of ours, but it slides back very quickly. And the reason for this is we have deep neural grooves. If I wish you could see, I draw drawings all the time and I have the squiggles of all the weight struggler squiggles in our brain. Neural wires that have just been primed and electricity has been running through these wires for years and years and years. And now we're saying, oh, here's some new wires over here. I'm an apprentice. I'm making healthy choices. I'm mastering the skills of weight mastery. But these wires are new and they're very tender. And I think we forget that. And it's very easy to fall back into the old brain in the beginning. So one of my first rules or principles of maintenance, when I got to my ideal weight, it was incredibly humbling. I was very excited, but if you've listened to any of the podcasts that I've done with some of our other members in our senior moment, some of the members in our membership, they would say it's scary. I've never been here before. I've never stayed here before. So it really is entering into, we know how to release the weight often. Often we don't get to our ideal weight, but once we get there, it's just, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. And I've got to take this one step at a time. So we have this new thinking brain, thinking brain. And so the idea is now we need to stay in it. And we need to keep building it because these wires are baby wires and they need to get mature. That we need to take them through their teen years and into maturity. And it takes a little time. So what got us to our ideal weight is pretty much now we're going to have to kind of change gears in many ways. But a lot of the skills, and we're going to get into this, that took us to our ideal weight are now going to keep us going through maintenance. And really have the 3 B's of maintenance: building, believing, and bridging. Building our skills, believing that we can do that out of blind faith. Just like I believe it, I'm going to make this happen. I believe in myself because we've got our inner coach, right? And then bridging, and when people leave our Shift 30-day weight mastery process, we have this bridge process if they continue into our membership, and that bridges them. And I love the word bridge because it takes you from one place to another step by step. And I think it's really important to see that many of the transitions that we make in our life and in our weight, because as a 30-year journey, folks, there's a lot of bridges in that, because in that time, a lot of life happened. And as I'm going to get into it, every season of my life required me to look at my weight mastery from a different lens, to lean in on particular skills where maybe one season exercise was easy and then another one it was not easy because I had a brand new baby and I didn't have time, or I started my business and so I think people don't think about long-term. We fetishize this idea of long-term permanent weight mastery is this like thing. But when you really think about leading yourself through all the different seasons of your life, think about where you have been in the last 2 years of your life. Let's not even talk 10. All the different changes that are going on in your life on a seasonal basis, on a yearly basis. It just makes your head spin. Like I think about where I was last September and my daughter was heading off to Europe and I was going to have surgery in December, which I did have. And like all these things have happened and now they're behind me, but I had to guide myself through many different things this year as a weight master and as a mother and as a wife and as a business owner and as a guide and a community leader. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is you really want to think about weight maintenance not as this thing that you're grabbing onto and it's very rigid. It's got to flow. And in order for it to flow and be flexible, because life isn't the same today and tomorrow, the world is crazy. 2 years ago, we didn't really know what AI was. And now we're all on ChatGPT like it's our best friend. And so when you think about how, like when I started my hypnotherapy career, it was cassette tapes, kids. It was like, yeah. So life is always changing, and so is our weight mastery. So I want to say that, yay, that's it, and that's a good thing. But I think when we think about weight management, it's this rigid thing that we have to restrict and push ourselves into and mold ourselves, rather than it's who we are and it's who we are being, not what we're squeezing ourselves into or clinging to or trying to get perfect. It's who we are becoming. We are an apprentice. I am still an apprentice of weight mastery. I can consider myself pretty masterful, but I am always learning. I wanted to actually start this podcast and I didn't because, like I said, it's messy, with a quote. And the quote is from Gandhi. And Gandhi said, "Learn like you're going to live forever. Live like you're going to die tomorrow." Love that. Don't you? Learn like you're going to live forever. And I am such a voracious learner, and I know you are too. You're listening to this podcast. You're engaged in life. You want to know more. You want to know answers. You want to know yourself better. And I will tell you, the journey of weight mastery it ain't about rigid and holding and restriction. It's about showing up for yourself and having an incredibly intimate relationship with yourself and learning about yourself. Because you learn about yourself, you learn about your world, and you learn about your choices and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And that's because you love yourself, not because you disrespect yourself because you struggle with weight. You know what I mean? I hope I am making sense. So rule number 1, which we've been getting into already for weight maintenance, is the same rule that it was for weight release, which is it is a hero's journey, not a shame sprint. And maintenance is a continuing hero's journey. So the journey doesn't end when you stand on the scale and ding, it's your ideal weight and all the confetti gets thrown on you and all that stuff. I know many times when I got on the scale and it was my ideal weight prior to shifting and really owning it, I'd get off and eat a waffle. Yep. Yay. Now I can relax. But the way I held my maintenance was like, it was like a teeny tiny little baby. I remember when my daughter was born, I didn't know how to hold her. She wouldn't nurse. It was just like I had to take it one little baby step at a time. I had to throw out all of my books on having a baby because they had all these rules and things you had to do. And it drove me crazy. I was like, no, I'm just going to show up for my daughter and I am going to figure this out. And that's how I approached maintenance too. It was just like, there's not a lot of rules around here. So I just had to start figuring it out. But I knew it was a hero's journey and I knew there were going to be obstacles, and there were a lot of them. But I knew that, like my weight release, it wasn't a pretty journey down the scale. There was a lot of overeating and learning. And so I was already in the habit of giving myself a lot of grace, forgiving myself and learning. And it was the same with maintenance. And the good news was, because I had really worked on long-term permanent, my skills, I was skilled in being able to, figure out how much food I needed, played around with that because I had really developed my inner scientist. I looked at my energy intake and my energy output because I was exercising, and I figured out how much food I needed calorically to release weight at a certain rate. And then when I reached maintenance, I had gotten really good at that. So it was pretty easy to slide into figuring out how to maintain. But it was definitely an adjustment. But that's where hypnosis and meditation and all of those mind techniques helped me really deepen my belief in myself and shift old habits. One thing I think that's hard to swallow, because I've guided many people in maintenance and had little heart-to-hearts with many of my members when they've gotten into their first year of maintenance, is it's hard to swallow this idea of always learning. And the first year can feel like it's Dunning-Kruger all over again, which we got into last week, which is this idea of, just something fell. This idea of unconscious incompetence. When we're first learning something, we think, oh, I've got this down, like driving a car. Oh, I took a couple of driver's lessons, so I'm really good at this. And then you realize, oh, wait, no, I have to parallel park. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And then it makes us feel bad about ourselves. And we're like, oh, I'm a nincompoop. And then but we keep going, and then we start to actually build the skills. And we start to get a little better, but we're still like insecure. But then comes that next step of owning it, right? So the first year of maintenance is like that whole cycle, like I described for weight release. I had to go through it all again for weight maintenance, but differently because it was for maintenance, right? So in the beginning, I was like, okay, I think I got this maintenance thing down, because I figured out how much, like I knew how to maintain my weight. I was getting on every day, and the scale was about the same. And I was eating a little more food, not a lot, folks. We'll get into that in a moment. Sorry, spoiler alert. And then I was like, I got this down. And then I realized, from an emotional standpoint and from a life standpoint, holy hell, I've got a lot to learn. Because there is a lot of when you've been struggling with your weight for so long, and now you're maintaining your weight, and you've been in the habit, like weight release was a hobby for you, like it was for me. Not having the scale go down and having to recover from that, meaning like that dopamine rush that you would get every day, that the scale would go down, and then it's not doing that. You have to recover from that, and you have to start to dig deeper into your why. Why am I really doing this? And also there's this feeling of, because there's so much learning involved, especially in that first year as you go through all the different seasons of the holiday season and summer and fall and midwinter and all the different times that you have to guide yourself through, and you got to get it under your belt. Like, you got to get that. You've got to go from unconscious incompetence with maintenance into conscious incompetence. Yeah, I really don't know what I'm doing, but I'm still figuring it out. And in this phase, it's the valley of despair, because it's not only I don't know what I'm doing, but it's really, I thought once I got to my ideal weight, that would be it. Like, I didn't have to think about it anymore. Surprise, you do. But the good news is, it's like I have to cheerlead people through their first year of maintenance, because I'm like, it's going to get easier and it's going to get so cool, and you just just keep going. And not to say that the first year of maintenance is horrible. It's not. But there are just there's that kind of disappointment that, I just thought it was going to be easy streets from now on in. And there's still a lot of learning in maintenance. And it's really easy in this unconscious incompetence stage for people to beat themselves up and fall back into that wiring of the fat thinking brain. And that's when they get off track. And then it's hard for them to get back on track. We have this tender, fresh little sprigs in our brain, our new thin thinking brain, and they aren't fully formed yet. So it's like a toddler learning to walk. They fall down a lot. And we don't say, you're never gonna walk, kid. You better give it up right now. But that's what we do with ourselves. Oh my goodness, when we're at this stage, we're just like, oh, you blew it, and you thought you had it, but you don't. Go eat something and forget about it. We're so horrible with ourselves. So that is so important, why it's so important to keep going and to see yourself as a hero and to keep going on the journey. Now, here are some things like we talked about last week. Begin with the end in mind, I said. And so for maintenance, continue with the end in mind, meaning we talked about having a vision of you 5 years out in the future at your ideal weight. And I think that vision still can fuel your weight maintenance. Now, for me, I got past 5 years, and somewhere around year 2, year 3, I started getting into other things. Like I wanted to not only have weight mastery, but I wanted to be super healthy weight mastery because my parents both got sick and died from cancer. And so I got super duper healthy micronutrients and all of those things. So I not only wanted weight mastery, but I wanted healthy weight mastery. And then I wanted longevity oriented weight mastery. And now here I am, 61, and I want strong, fit, mobile, rocking it, crushing it in my senior years. Like that vision, keep upping the vision. That's what I guess I'm saying. It's 5 years weight mastery. That's good. Start with that. And that's all good. And that's so inspiring. But as time rolls on, I've seen many people, I'm like, we got to make that sexier. We got to kick it up. And because the human brain wants to kick it up a notch. So we want to keep it going. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is last week, I'm repeating some of these rules because they are similar, is last week we talked about making friends with resistance and fear, because there's resistance to releasing weight and fear. There's a lot of fear we have to guide ourselves through. And there's fear in maintenance, right? Like I'm talking about fear, the fear of the unknown, fear of if we're going to be able to do it or not, because we've never really gone through this experience before. And let's face it, our psyche has so much riding on it. Oh my God, if I can't do this. So here's a new thing. Your brain may romanticize the old times, right? So as you're on your journey of weight maintenance, your brain might also go back to when you were struggling and go, oh, it was so easy then. Oh, I could eat whatever I wanted. And that was so great. So here's the thing is that it's not great and it's a struggle. And you are, a lot of the time when you struggle with weight, in a mental prison with yourself, abusing yourself. It's an abusive relationship. But your brain, in its oddity and weirdness, and not your brain, but the brain, will romanticize, because it will think of the good times. It will think of like when you're having like on an overeating spree and it was like, oh, that was so fun. Now, if you go back to the past and sat in on one of those sessions and really were in your body when you were stuffed and to the gills and you felt horrible and awful and your inner critic was beating you up, no, it was not fun. But your brain will do that. So just be aware. So our brain just does weird things. Those romantic ideas of the past are not actually true. And what you're doing by maintaining your weight and having a freedom mindset is just powerful. And it isn't just about the weight. It is about your relationship with yourself and freeing your mind from food noise, from the tyranny of your inner critic, and really cultivating this powerful relationship. And one of that is really about building out those 9 skills. So we talked about the 9 skills of weight mastery, and those skills continue to get built into your maintenance. Now, there are 3 sets to the 9 skills of weight mastery. There are the weight skills, the mind skills, and the environment skills. So as you head into your maintenance, you are going to flex those weight skills and figure out, how do I maintain my weight? And there are ways of doing it. Again, I think with most of the people in our community, that when they reach their ideal weight, they have that down because they know what they're doing. They're scientists. They know what their energy needs are, and they can play around with that and add a little more food in and such. But it's not going to be a ton of food, because the variables between weight release and weight maintenance are not huge, like maybe 300, 400, 500 calories. I was going to read from a book, actually, really quickly. This is Diet, Drugs, and Dopamine by Dr. David Kessler, one of my favorite, David A. Kessler, I should say. This book is a little more sciencey than his book, The End of Overeating, which I think is an amazing read and a must read. And if you look in my podcasts, I did review that book in my earlier days. So I'm just going to read a little tiny bit. This is getting into calories and stuff like this, but this is just about weight maintenance. And because he confers with a lot of scientists on this. And this is from the chapter, it's like what it takes to achieve and sustain weight loss. The number of calories that can be consumed daily to lose a significant amount of weight, meaning 10% or more of body weight, is the same across the board, whether a person is using diets, drugs, or surgery. While there's a great deal of individual variability, it depends on energy expenditure. People can generally achieve that degree of weight loss by consuming around 1,000 calories a day, with a range of 500 to 1,500 a day. Now, we in the Shift Weight Mastery process get into this a little more, and it's much more calculated on like height, weight, age, all that kind of stuff. They're just being very general here. So it's not, I don't believe it has to be 1,000 calories a day. So if you're like, eek, don't worry about it. It's not really like that. But it is like, what they're basically saying is you're taking your energy intake lower. Those numbers aren't surprising. What is surprising, however, is that according to research done by Dr. Thomas Whiten, the professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of Pennsylvania, to successfully maintain weight loss, women must consume on average 1,550 calories, or somewhere between 1,200 and 1,800 calories per day. The number rises slightly for men, who must consume an average of 1,770 calories per day. Those bastards. These two apply whether the weight loss is due to diet, drugs, or surgery. And then a little later on a different page, 1,000 calories a day is considered a low-calorie diet. Very low-calorie diets go down between 600 and 800, which I would never, ever advise, because that is just not sustainable. And most people who go on those diets gain the weight back. But the key is that people usually only need to stay on these diets for 3 to 6 months. And again, I am not saying this like this is the truth. I'm just saying this is like from the scientific community perspective. And they are saying that diets aren't sustainable. And this is what I'm getting to. And during that period, the active weight loss serves as a positive reinforcement. So they're saying people are willing to do this and go that low because they get that reinforcement on the scale. By contrast, sustaining weight loss on 1,600 to 1,700 calories or forever without losing weight as an incentive becomes daunting, or seems daunting. In the face of both the addictive circuits and the energy circuits, it's no wonder people tend to gain weight back. What generally not has been said is that this level of long-term reduction is often only achievable with help from medication or specific eating patterns. So what I guess I'm trying to say is that when you are maintaining your ideal weight, there is a mind piece to this that allows you to live in the world and figure it out. And it doesn't, and yes, I agree that there are patterns of eating that it isn't in a book that you're going to go find, but that you have to create for yourself that allows you to sustain your weight. Now, for me, it was about 500 calories above my calorie budget for weight release. And what happened over the years, because again, 30 years is a long time, I had to change exercise. I've changed and modulated things throughout the years. My caloric intake went down when I went through menopause because my metabolism went down. I have a machine, for those of you who don't know me, because everybody else knows this, I have a machine in my office that measures your metabolism. So I was very clued into what, was going on in my body and my system and all that. And if you do not take a rational approach to this, if you do not take like a scientific, I'm going to figure this out. I'm a scientist for myself. I don't care about what everybody else says. I'm a scientist for myself, and I'm going to figure out a way of eating that I love that allows me to live at my ideal weight. And you can do that, and you can figure it out, but it will take figuring it out. And this is the mental piece. This is why, even more than the weight skills, which is figuring out that balancing act, the mind skills, which is developing a powerful relationship with your inner coach, turning down the volume on that negative critic that wants to say you're never going to figure it out and you're an idiot and you don't know what you're doing, and the rebel, which is like, why are we doing this? I just want to eat cake. And to be that powerful leader of yourself and say, oh my gosh, we are strong, we are powerful, and we're not doing this to be skinny. We're doing this because it feels great to be healthy and to be strong in our body and to move our body and have mobility and to be free from the food noise. Because I assure you, when you are stabilizing yourself with enough protein and keeping the gacky food, which I don't have time to get into now, go listen to another episode, but the refined carbohydrates that turn on the carb zombie in your brain and make it impossible to manage your weight. When you are stabilizing and keeping yourself stabilized, the food noise goes away and your body does heal itself. Your blood sugar, insulin, all of that can be healed over time. And because you've healed yourself over time, stabilized, you don't have that food noise. You don't have that blood sugar spike and drop hunger that drives overeating, that instability of hunger all the time, feeling hungry all the time, even though you've eaten. Because you are free from that, it becomes so manageable to stay within a reasonable caloric range to maintain your weight and feel like you have choice to be eating in a way that I said that you love, that allows you to maintain your ideal weight. But it is a journey with you and your inner coach figuring it out and forgiving yourself, getting off track and forgiving yourself again. But over time, it gets easier and it gets clearer to you what are the best choices to make for you, not because you have to, but because you want to stay free. I haven't had food noise in 29 years. I've had food noise because I have gotten off track. The carb zombie comes back, and then I have to hibernate the carb zombie, which is all very doable within a couple of days. But I haven't had long-term food noise in decades. And that's all I heard in my head was food noise. So I hope and I'm not saying this, oh, look at me, I'm so amazing. I'm saying this because this is all possible when you're coming at this from a completely different perspective, when you're engaging in your powerful, thin thinking brain and using your brain differently. It really is so much about using your mind in the right way. Another rule that I think applies to both weight release and maintenance is what people say or think about you is none of your business. And I think this is really important because I think when we struggle with our weight and we feel like we've got that padding between us and the world, and that nobody really looks at us. When we begin to release weight, we can feel vulnerable and visible. And then people start paying attention to us, right? Or you might start to have people pay attention to you. You might have people say things to you. And they might be good things, they might be bad things, but that might make you feel self-conscious. And it's really important just to understand that you are, to create a magic boundary around yourself. Because I think often when people say stuff to us, it triggers us and we feel like they can see us all the way through. I remember people saying stuff to me and I was like, oh my God, they can see how much I was eating and what I was doing. And now they think I look good. Did they not think I looked good before? All these things about me. And what gave me power was a realization that when people say stuff to me, about me, it's never about me. It's about them having an experience. Most of our experience in life isn't in the present moment. It happened in the past and it's just getting re-triggered. So a lot of times people will have fear. They'll be like, oh, you're getting too thin. And you might have 40 pounds more to release. That is their thing. That is them, like from something happened to them. And there is a primal thing. When we see somebody become smaller, we might think, oh, they're sick or there's something going wrong with them. And it can create a panic. Or they might have a fear that you're not going to be in their tribe anymore if you release weight and don't like them anymore and become attractive and move away or divorce them or whatever. And again, that is something that is going on in their body and in their brain. And so I think what really helped me was start to have compassion for people and to start to say, oh, what they're going through really has very little to do with me. I'm having an internal reaction. Now, I had to take care of my internal reaction, and my internal reaction was, I am safe. I have words. I am started to really understand that, like the little girl in me who was vulnerable and people picked on her and maybe violated her space sometimes so being overweight was a buffer. I had to create the buffer now. I had to create the buffer between the thinner me and I call it the inner thinner space, where here's your thinner body and that outer barrier that your body used to take up. I used to fill with power, like my personal power, like my aura. I just worked on having my powerful aura and my powerful inner coach saying, we have words we can use. We can protect us. We're older now. We have words. So if you're feeling vulnerable or feeling unsafe, then, those are things that you're working on within you. And again, all comes back to the inner coach, right? And developing that part. People saying stuff like, oh, or you look great. And they're being kind and they're being wonderful. And that might impact you positively or negatively. They're having an experience. You don't owe them anything, but you can just take care of yourself. So separating them out from you, whatever is going on for them is on their side of the street, and you can have compassion or you can let them know, thank you very much. But this is a journey that you are taking yourself through one moment at a time. So if you get triggered and start to have that internal experience of feeling vulnerable, you can take care of yourself in that moment. You can learn to show up for yourself. And that is why it is so important to develop that inner coach. And I plan to do a podcast episode on this. I know I'm just touching the surface on this, but I felt like I wanted to say something about this. John Gielgud, when I was living in England, was on the stage as an older man when I was living in England. And then he's famous from years and years before that. And he had this saying, I don't know if you know this, maybe you do. I never read my reviews. And he never did. And I didn't get that like in the beginning. I guess when I lived in London, my husband was involved with like theater. And so I was surrounded by theater people. And I was like, never read the reviews. I don't get that. And then I got it one day with my weight mastery. I was like, he was just basically saying, if the critics said John Gielgud was amazing in that performance and the best British actor ever lived, right? What that does for his internal experience of that role and what he was doing with that role immediately externalizes it. Like when somebody says, oh, you look so thin, it takes you out of your relationship with yourself and your weight release journey, and then it puts it outside of you. And then if somebody says, oh, you don't look good, you look too thin. If somebody said, John Gielgud is crap in this role and he should have never been cast. And again, what that critic said, John Gielgud's just up on stage, playing the role, living his life, being connected with himself inside of that role. What they're saying about him, except for the people who produce the show and need to make money, but as far as him and his job and what he wants to do, he's just there playing the role. And it's none of his business what other people think about him. And all he needs to do is show up and do what he was hired to do or to be in that role. And so with your weight maintenance, you don't owe anybody anything. You don't need to care what they're saying about you. You shouldn't care. You want to stay internal in your journey. So if somebody externalizes you by saying, oh, you look great, or you look like you're dying, thank them. Bring yourself back to your inner coach. Say, thank you very much, but that didn't matter to us. Maybe it did, but we are coming back to center and focusing on our skills and focusing on our journey and focusing on our apprenticeship. Okay. You're going to have a lot of seasons of your weight journey, right? Like I said, I had many seasons. I had my season of weight release, and then I had a season of new maintenance, and then I had a season as I learned to become a hypnotherapist, and I had to learn to manage my weight as I started my business, and then I got pregnant. Like I had my business with my season of pregnancy, and like parents dying, and menopause, and tough time in my marriage, and all these different seasons. And so here is the thing, is no matter what season was going on in my life, because I know you all have lives going on. You have children, or you have parents you're taking care of, or you are going to Morocco this year or something. Like there are many different, you've got a big work thing coming up. All of these things going on in your life, you are still a weight master and you are still figuring it out. Just like when you are a mother and you go through a season in your life where, you're taking care of your sick parents, you still have to figure out how to be a mother, right? You're still figuring out that role. You never give up being a mother in order to take care of your sick parents, right? So I'm saying is like when you really own your weight mastery and maintenance, it isn't something you're doing, it is who you are being, just like you are being all the other things that you are in your life, which you would never give up if something happened in life, like you went through a stressful time or a wonderful time or went on a trip, you are still on that trip as a weight master. And so it doesn't stop. And I think that is the most important thing of weight maintenance is you are weight maintenance. You are the master on a journey, and just nothing outside of you is impacting that connection to yourself. For 30 years, one thing that I've done that has been the instrumental, and forgive me if I'm repeating myself, I probably am, but this is so important, is sitting down every Sunday for 10, 20 minutes, half an hour, and designing my week and thinking my week through with regards to my weight, health goals, life goals. And that never happened until I started managing my weight, like really, truly being an apprentice of weight mastery. And by doing that, it allowed me to have this intimate relationship with myself, because it wasn't just me, it was me and my inner coach. And we're sitting down, my inner coach is like, how are we going to do this week so that you maintain your weight? You go through that, have a party coming up, you have a very busy week, but we still need to exercise. How do we figure this out? Your daughter's stressed out, you need to manage her. Like, how do we fit all these pieces of the puzzle together so that we're creating our life together rather than defensively, like trying to survive it? And I will tell you that relationship with myself and what I had to cultivate in order to maintain my weight, because that relationship is the cornerstone. It is my weight maintenance. All the other stuff is just around it. That has allowed me to live a life that I love, that I'm really proud of, that I never ever thought I would be saying. I've kept my weight off for 30 years, and to have my children be proud of me, and to have that kind of long-term sustained connection has opened doors of fearlessness, of risk-taking that I want for you. Not risk-taking like jumping out of a plane. I wouldn't parachute. Oh my God. No, but by not fearing that if I make a mistake or if I fail, I'm going to beat myself up. And I think that's allowed me to do things that I would never, ever dreamed of. And I know for our members, I watch them. I'm so proud of them taking risks and doing things in their lives. We had somebody climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I've had people like Coach Julie. She was on a TED Talk, and Coach Susan was on a TED Talk. We have TED Talk coaches, you guys, like people who are just amazing and are fearless now because they've really learned to show up for themselves. So I want to invite you to, if you haven't shifted, if you are thinking about it, go to www.shiftweightmastery.com/fall and check it out, because I would love for you to come along on this ride. I know what is possible for you when you start believing in yourself, when you get rid of that limiting voice that, bugs you, when you start to align yourself powerfully with food and really coming into the 9 skills of weight mastery. It's a powerful journey. So check it out if you're interested. If not, I hope our session today has been helpful for you to open up some doors for thinking about weight maintenance, or if you're in weight maintenance, to let you know, if you're not 30 years along like me, that it gets better and better and better. You get more and more skilled at this. It becomes easier, and it's such a joy. I hope I didn't scare you off. And thank you, everybody, for giving me the grace to hear my little papers in the background. Even though I hardly looked at them, I was more like, what was I going to say? So you are an apprentice journey. You're always learning here. I'm just reading my last notes. You are never done, and that is a good thing. Your mental freedom is the best present that you can give yourself. Your relationship with your inner coach is the most powerful you will have in your life, because it gives you your life. It really does. So join us and have a great week. And remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle, is inside you. So keep listening and find it. And I will be here with you next week. Have a wonderful one.
You want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release? Head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking: Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss.